They know they're doing something
I love
shady.
the food that they have, the menu that they prepare.
The
Is it
pizzas are
good
good.
food?
I mean, they have
Dang.
good taste, especially for pizza. I
No.
love the pizza, so
No, they
It's a
have
great
good
place to eat.
I
food.
like their food and coffee.
No.
Okay,
That's how they're
we're at
gonna
Olive
get
Tree,
people,
and
bro.
I'm
That's how
having
they're gonna
some
get people. They're gonna be like, yo, they're
carbonara.
gonna be like, yeah, I know y'all are a cult, but damn, that pizza's good. That chicken's good. No. Yo, what's up? We got another video this morning. Well, it's afternoon now, technically 12:09 p.m. on the timer. It's gonna be, if it shows it, how a cult took over Fiji. Now, I always hear good things about Fiji. I want to go there one day.
Fiji is a paradise.
W Fiji. If you guys want to go to Fiji too, let me know down in the comments. We're gonna get into this. It's by Fern, and should be interesting. Pretty sure I told that cult story about the time I almost got indoctrinated into a cult. I didn't almost. They tried, but it was never gonna happen. But I might tell that story throughout
In the South Pacific.
Let's see.
Unfortunately, the country has been infiltrated by a doomsday cult, Grace Road.
Grace Road.
They rule their members with an iron fist, while entangling international authorities in a years-long game of cat and mouse. Unhindered, the cult built a vast business empire stretching across the island, warmly embraced by the local government.
Warmly.
Their ambitions seem to be far from over.
반대면.
정계에 들어갈 거야. 지배하고 다스리고 누리고 정복할 거야.
They expanded
probably
from
funding
30-something businesses to 54 in the period following the raids.
Do we look like a cult?
I say Nick
There have
Jonas.
been allegations of being fed improperly, being housed improperly, being overworked well beyond what normal labor practices would allow, and physical punishments to top everything off.
I realized my passport was gone. I was panicking a lot. I was screaming for help.
This story is about religious fanaticism,
Actually, their whole purpose is about preparing for great tribulation or the Armageddon, the end of days.
about a regime deeply entwined with them,
You're
The
talking
church
about
were
the-
able to ingratiate themselves with senior
the
people
flood
in the
or
government
something?
of the day.
Or
about
the
freedom of
rapture? What are
press.
they talking
Our
about?
latest investigation story or piece
I saw the,
is with our lawyers.
That the permits given to your
The
production
Jesus
company
picture
must
in
be
the back.
cancelled
That's usually what
forthwith.
We're basically holding back
Ruby's
the
talking
studies.
about.
and about an entire country in the chokehold of a sect.
What happens if you effectively kill this golden goose?
How did Grace Road amass so much power? How far does its influence reach? And why has no one stepped in to stop them? Well, we went there ourselves to find out.
Where exactly is Fiji again? It's in the South Pacific zone.
All right, it's the first day here.
This investigation is, of course, a job for Valley. He previously traveled to Ethiopia for us, where a new ocean is forming.
Oh, he went
It
there?
doesn't take long to convince him
Hey,
to go.
yo.
I was super happy when Fern asked me to go to the other
Yo,
side of
that's
the world
lit.
to join a cult, I guess.
Now he's on a 48-hour trip from Vienna to Fiji.
This is farthest away I've ever been from home. Literally the exact opposite side of the world.
Valley will spend nearly a week in Fiji, speaking with all kinds of people about Grace Road, or at least trying to.
Grace Road?
Let's see.
Nothing much about them.
I've heard lots of rumors, but
I was going to tie this into the AI, that's
all
why.
I know is that they say
showed
they
up
are a
like that.
Christian-based restaurant. But from what I've heard from rumors, they said they're working under cults or something like that.
I have had conversations with them. It's
So where is
a
it?
confidential meeting, so I can't say
it's
more.
by
From what I
Australia,
have
okay.
heard, it is enough for me
Bet,
to know
I
that
think.
this is not a church.
Yeah,
They
so
are
it's by
making
Australia,
questions
okay.
that only Grace Road can answer.
Nah, I got
and
mine.
to get an answer of them right now, as you know,
Got my
now know,
footing.
not very easy.
They haven't talked to us. They don't even know what we're doing. And yet they're trying to shut us down. If that's not a red flag, I don't know what
That's
is.
crazy.
But let's
I
go
don't
back
even
to
know
the
what they're
beginning,
up to yet.
before Valley's plane touched the ground at
They
Nagi.
already know. They're like, hey, if anything
It all
gets
starts
out.
here in Seoul, South Korea, between auto repair shops and an old factory building. On a
That's a
Sunday
Korean
morning
cult?
in 2008.
That's the same cult.
The woman in the blazer up
not
front
the same
is
cult,
called
but-
Shin Okcho. She spent 3 years in
Yo, nah, no way. Nah, because the dude that tried, he was the cult leader of the cult that they tried to get me when I was teaching English in Mexico. His name was Oksu Park, and it was another Korean cult, but it was under like the banner of Christianity, or his brand of Christianity, which they were talking crazy.
politicizing China, preached in Philadelphia and in South Korea. She claims she was trained by the Presbyterian Church, back then one of the largest Christian denominations in South Korea. But the Presbyterian Church insists Shin's story is false. Not that it matters much. By now, Shin has her own church, Grace Road. And she has some pretty specific ideas about humanity's future. Jesus, she says, will soon return to Earth a second time.
Korean Jesus.
But first, the world must endure a doomsday. In South Korea, cults have been flourishing for decades. In the early 2000s, an
That's not a new
estimated
thought.
300,000 South Koreans were said to belong to 100 different groups. Today, more than 300 cults are active in the country. Some experts trace this back to the national trauma of colonialism and war. Back then, cults offered social contacts, comfort, and salvation. Today, they promise secret
so
knowledge,
that's why.
a path to material and spiritual prosperity. Many of these cults are controversial. Some are outright dangerous. Over time, Shin wins over hundreds of followers with her rhetoric. In her mind, there is
Yeah, the
only
one they
one
tried
way
to
to
get me
escape the
with,
coming doom.
I don't
They must
think they
find
were
the promised
violent,
land,
but they were
where
definitely
she and her
shady.
followers can survive global famine and nuclear fallout.
Their plan was
Like when we were crossing the border to go to Mexico. Like at first, I didn't even know. Right? At first, I had no idea. I thought it was just like some random church group, right? But when we were crossing the border to go to Mexico, they actually they were offering. They were like, "Hey, yeah, we'll collect you guys' passports and then give them back to you." I was like, "Oh, I'm good. I'll hold on to mine." I was like, "Bruh, I don't know where y'all are coming from. I don't know where anything's going on, but I know like we go out the country, bro. The passport's on me. Just know, anytime you go out the country, keep that passport on you, because you saw what happened in that video about Dubai. Actually, I don't know if I put that video up, but you go over to Dubai without your passport, and you let somebody take your passport, they might just put you in slavery and be like, "Oh, we don't know where he went. He couldn't go back to his country. He didn't have a passport, so we just enslaved him, and now he's gonna be working on the Burj Khalifa too." Crazy.
to establish these
Don't let that
large
happen.
farms and to assist in helping feed the world during a time of hardship. That was the message that Okushin was promulgating from her pulpit.
Dan McGarry is an editor for
That's
the
nice.
Pacific region with the OCCRP, the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project. He's been investigating Grace Road for years. Around 2014, Shin's son, Daniel Kim, takes up the quest to find said promised land. He searches for a place with no winter and a steady warmth between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius. In his pursuit, he allegedly traveled to 60 countries. And eventually, his search leads him to Fiji. An archipelago of 332 islands and over 500 islands.
Sabaody?
Scattered across an ocean
Sabaody,
expanse almost
Sabaody.
twice the size of the Gulf of Mexico. Only 100 are inhabited. Fewer than 1 million people live here, most of them on the main island, Viti Levu. That's also where the capital Suva is located. Until 1970, Fiji was part of the British Empire, so English became the official language. And because India was also under British rule, many Indians ended up in Fiji. Today, next to English, people here also speak Fijian Hindi and traditional Fijian Aituke.
Wow.
Like you said, at the end of the day, only thing you hear is stories, but it's important for us to see it and believe it.
Interesting.
We can't be depending on the stories we hear.
Back in
I didn't know
2014,
that.
Kim wrapped up his
I was
assessment
wondering, they
of whether
did look a
Fiji
little
could be the
bit,
promised land.
Like
Now
they were
he's about
Indian.
to
I
leave
was
for
like,
his next
maybe
destination,
that was just
Nepal. But he gets stuck in Fiji and takes it as a sign from
Samoan
God. His quest, he believes,
darkness.
reached its conclusion.
don't know.
Soon after, Grace Road announces they have clear evidence. This is the land God has prepared. And so Prophet Kim's mother and hundreds of church members follow him there. Others believe no prolonged search mission or higher power was involved.
There used to be a direct flight from Seoul to Nandi. That's it. You know, it was a direct flight.
Reverend Bhagwan James is the General Secretary of the Pacific Conference of Churches, an organization to bring together different churches in the Pacific region. He is also a minister of Fiji's Methodist Church.
I can tell you that I have been aware of the Grace Road group for about 11 years now. I was first approached by Korean groups in Fiji, faith groups in Fiji that are doing missionary work, to raise their concerns about some of the new sects that were coming in.
It wasn't just Fijians who were wary of Grace Road. Back home in South Korea, the Presbyterian Church launched an investigation into Shin Okjo and gathered evidence of
Shin
just how
Okjo.
dangerous she was. To heal a schizophrenic man, she ordered her followers to tie him with duct tape. The man's blood circulation failed, and his leg
Whoa.
later had to be amputated. In
Whoa.
September 2014,
They
the
killed him?
Presbyterian Church declared Shin a heretic. Deacon Ling Yu was one of the ones leading the charge against
Not
her.
killed him, but they
A grave insult,
took his limb?
one that would not go unanswered. A Sunday
Whoa.
morning, 3 months later, Mass is about to begin at the Day Rim Methodist Church in Seoul. In front of the church, a few dozen Grace Road members are protesting. Suddenly, some of them storm inside. They violently attacked a church official, Deacon Lee In-gyu. They grab him and drag him down the stairs.
Whoa.
They probably consider him to be a demon. At least, that's
demon?
what Shin reportedly told them. She was never
What did he do,
persecuted
though?
for the attack, but afterwards, she was on the radar of both the South Korean media and police. All the more reason to finally
That's
settle
crazy.
in Fiji for good.
That's one thing I always say nowadays about like you know, religious congregation and things like that. I got no problem with people wanting to be religious. I love it, honestly. People who do want to do that. I love the fact that people can come together and share their faith and stuff. I won't personally participate in like the group religious practices, but like I appreciate that, you know, it's available for people because it does genuinely help people. But with that being said, there's one part of it that people just, they feel so inclined in their head. They're like, hey, our religion is so great. We have to overtake everything else in the world and we can use it to justify any means. That is where you lose me. That is where you mess up. That is where I'm just like, okay, y'all are tripping. This has nothing to do with your religion anymore. This just has to do with whatever you thought in your head was like the right thing to do, and then you're just projecting your religion on top of it at that point. Because if at any point your religion is like telling you to do like evil stuff to people, you might just have to double check yourself, bro. Because like I'm pretty sure at the heart of every religion is treating people with kindness, and upping the stick on somebody under religious means is crazy work. But hey,
This is the place that is supposed to save a group of people from famine and nuclear fallout. A group of people that came from 8,000 kilometers away from here, from South Korea. I wonder also, you know, all the
not even
people
your
here in
land,
this
man.
bus and the people around, how aware are they of this sect and the stories around them? How troubled is this paradise? This paradise
saying
on Earth
whatever.
really? It's like a 3-4 hour drive from Nari to Suva. And all along this road are actually also Grace Road businesses, supermarkets, gas stations, restaurants, and so on.
fierce chicken.
One
Might be
should
some
ask
good
the
chicken,
question
though.
is, why did
I
they
know
come in
Korean
as a
chicken be
business
good.
first rather than as a church? Right. So they had obviously already a methodology, an approach to come in. So they'll come in as a business, they set up as an foreign investor, and then they move from there.
In April 2014, Grace Road established their presence in Fiji with this farm, 3.8 hectares of land, more than enough space to grow rice and vegetables. So far, so good. Given the whole incoming global
I don't
famine
trust
thing,
it.
it probably makes sense to cultivate their own rice, feed the world during a time of hardship, and so on. But then something strange started to happen. The cult started to expand rapidly. In 2015, they opened their restaurant, Grace Road Kitchen, followed by Noodle Story, Sunny Pizza, Awesome Grill, Fierce Chicken, Snowy House, and Patisserie Pacifica. Grace Road also launched their own construction company, designing and building for their own businesses, for private clients, and even for the government. As befits true Christians, after Cyclone
that's
Winston in
cool, but
2016, they
I
helped
don't trust
rebuild
it.
this village. A year later,
Especially
they
what
were
they've been
busy
doing to Buddy.
refurbishing and extending Prime Minister Bainimarama's house
It could be
at a
poisoning
cost
the
to
food.
Fijian taxpayers of allegedly around $3 million. In the same year, the group won a business award, presented by Bainimarama. By this point, more than 100 Fijian locals are working for Grace Road, but the majority of employees are Korean, at least 300, and they're far from done. Grace Road opens supermarkets, hardware stores, a dental clinic, shoe stores, and beauty salons. At the center of it all are Daniel Kim and his mother, Shinokjo, shaking hands,
Kims.
cutting ribbons, growing the empire. And for a long time, no one knew what's really going on behind the scenes at Grace Road. We're trying to uncover what's really happening here. During his long flight to Fiji, Vali put his time to good use,
Always the Kims
improving
with
his
their growing
problem-solving
empire
and
type
logical
shit.
thinking skills. With the help of our sponsor,
Korea wasn't enough.
Brilliant is a hands-on learning platform that offers thousands more crafted apps.
Driving to.
Everything the platform has to offer.
We are actually driving to Nabu right now, which is the place where it all
Was
started.
not enough.
The headquarters of Grace Roads, Grace Farms. This is the road, the Grace Road.
During his travels, Vali is supported by Lonnie, a filmmaker from Fiji.
Lonnie.
Behind the scenes, Jim and Lada handle logistics and access, and Mary does the driving. Even before Vali arrived, they tried to get us in touch with Grace Road, sending emails and calling dozens of numbers.
So it was either not working, diverted, or it had that fax line sound where this high beeping sound when you call the number. Two of them
We're
actually
sorry.
managed to
They
get
call
through.
you, man.
Spoke to a lovely gentleman on the numbers that I called, and he said, email the admin address. So I did. I'm still waiting for a response from them. I've tried that number again. Nobody's answered.
By now, it seems Lonnie's number
They're not
got
trying
blocked.
to get put on blast. That's what it is.
As we're approaching Grace Road headquarters now.
Yeah, they're not trying to get put on blast.
What's our plan?
So I'm just gonna go up to the front door and speak to them and explain to them what we're trying to do in person, and if we can really schedule the time to sit down with them to
I gotta read
have a
that.
chat on camera.
Yeah.
Lonnie and Jim enter the building. After a while, they return.
Come on, why are you walking so slow? We want to know. What did they tell you?
We went up to the office.
They were nervous when we mentioned the fact that we were part of a documentary crew and we want to speak to somebody. You could sort of feel the shift
The vibe
in
shift.
the vibe.
They didn't want to give some direct contact or address or.
Of course not.
I asked for a number. They said
So they said no.
Of course
just
not.
admin.
Why
Vali
would they
can't
let
film
you
inside
shut them
Grace
down?
Road's headquarters or speak with officials,
or get
but he
the
can at least
authorities
visit
on
the
them.
Colt's restaurants.
They know they're doing something
I love
shady.
the food that they have there, the menu that they prepare.
The
Is
pizzas
it
are
good
good.
food?
I mean, they have
Dang.
good taste, especially
No.
for pizza. I love the pizza. So.
No,
It's a-
they
it's a
have
good
good
place to eat.
food.
I like their food and coffee.
No.
Okay.
That's how they're
we're
gonna
olive
get
tree,
people,
and,
bro.
I'm
That's how
having
they're gonna
some
get people. They're gonna be like, yo,
carbonara.
they're gonna be like, yeah, I know y'all are a cult, but damn, that pizza's good. That chicken's good. No.
rice cakes.
Oh my
And I
god.
have to say, it's really, really good. We are at Patisserie Pacifica and Fierce
If the
Chicken.
food was trash, that would be so much easier to like discredit them. But the food's actually good, so people are like, damn, I don't want to see them go. They're attached to the food now. You know, they said the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Now they got him by the heart.
Your coffee. So
Dang,
the
they're
coffee
gonna
is
be
good, I
hard
can
to
tell you
get out
that.
of here.
And the rest
I
I'll
wonder
tell
how
you
this
a
is
bit later.
gonna go.
So let's take a look. Great food, modern interior. No signs of an abusive doomsday cult. But wait. These signs read,
Honest,
the brightest,
sincerity.
cleanest, kindest, and most honest eternal group that sees and delivers
Eternal
the
group.
eternal love of God. Interesting world
Whoa,
map
yeah,
also.
they're talking crazy.
The center of the world, Fiji, the only island with yesterday and today. And look at these. The Booklet
Wow,
of
is it
Truth
really?
by Reverend Okjo Shin. Vali takes one.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Just
Oak Joe Shin? Bro, them Oaks be going crazy, bro. Because Oaksu Park was the other cult leader, the one that he tried to get me. I actually saw him. I met him. Because he was doing one of the, what they called them, the mind lectures. I knew it was crazy when they started calling them that. I got a little sussed out. But I didn't really put, like, more pieces together. Still more stuff started coming through. But, like, they would have us while we were there, right? They would have us attend, like, these, what they call them mind lectures. I was like watching them until later in the duration of the stay when I got like super sussed out, and I was like, I wonder what happens if I skip one of them. And then me and my buddy, we ended up skipping them because we were both sus of them. But Oaksu Park, he was like, what's it called? He was talking about. It was like he would always leave. It was like sus, like, you know, these like vocal tics, not tics, but like vocal patterns that people have to try to really instill something into you. Where he would always be like, "Oh, isn't it wonderful?" And then like say whatever he said, and then be like, "Oh, isn't it wonderful?" Da 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 da. Isn't it wonderful? Da 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 da. And I didn't really listen to what he was saying. I heard what he was saying, but I wasn't really like intaking it because I was like, "This is weird, bro. Like, why are you telling these people this type of stuff?" He was telling them like it was like anti-help in a way. It was like anti self empowerment. Eh, like that's how cults do though. They try to break you down and stuff like that and be like, oh, rely on my words, rely on the word of God which comes through me. Da 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 da. Don't rely on yourself. It's stuff like that. But like, yeah. All that to say, Oaksu Park, get them out of here, bro.
Vacation of threshing.
Not
Reading
kill
about
him,
why
but like,
Oxygen has to be released from
you know,
prison.
take him from his cult position. Now they were less harmful from
It
what I
feels
can
like
see, but I don't know what they had
everyone
going on in the
knows
background.
about Grace
Because you
Roads.
know how they present on the top. Clearly, you can see how they're presenting on the top. They're like, oh, we're this do-good organization, right? They make good food. But again, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and I don't care to know for real. I just needed to get the heck up out of there as fast as I could with my passport intact. And then we'll look at it from the outside looking in.
Everyone has a reaction whenever I mention the name. And I can't really tell what the reaction is like about their businesses, restaurants, shops. But whenever I ask a little bit more critical question, it feels that people tensen up. People don't want to comment. People don't know, or they've heard some rumors. But it really feels like they don't speak openly, or they can't speak openly, or they just want to focus on the positive aspects. And we have speculated that this might also be related to some kind of leftover fear of the previous government, which was essentially a dictatorship under Bainimarama.
In the Bainimarama era, things were quite different.
This is Fred Wesley, editor-in-chief of the newspaper Fiji Times. He was already in office when Grace Road set foot in Fiji. Back then, what looked like paradise was in fact a deeply oppressed country.
I say there's a lot of misunderstanding by the international community of what transpired here, and Australia and New Zealand, being big brothers, wanted to stamp their mark as big brothers. But why do you think they're doing it?
Because they don't like to see a military dictatorship in the region.
Frank Bainimarama came to power in a military coup. He was a former commodore of the Fijian Navy. He's a strong man. He is reputed to have inflicted great many acts of violence on individuals who were critical of the regime.
A lot of people don't want to understand the situation here.
That's probably, that could also play into why the cults felt safe there.
Okay, no, with a military
Like,
man
oh,
in a
they're
nice
used to
shirt,
it.
but you're still a military man and you still
Well,
have...
I keep telling everyone, a radical change needs to be brought in. And radical change cannot be brought in by some weak organization.
Under Bainimarama, the opposition in parliament was, for all intents and purposes, muzzled. Freedoms of expression, peaceful assembly, and association were restricted. Violence was commonplace. The media was heavily censored and tightly controlled by the regime.
I had a senior journalist who was based in the West, who was arrested 5 times, thrown into a cell 3 times. I've had people who were journalists who were verbally abused by ministers, you know, and an editor would get a $25,000 fine and be sentenced to jail for 2 years.
It wasn't only journalists that were suffering this kind of repression. The laws were changed, the constitution was changed, the arm of government was strengthened in terms of repressing negative or critical voices. It was a very, very strict regime
Can't
for
be super surprised
anybody
about
who
that.
wasn't completely aligned with the Bainimarama agenda.
After seizing power in the 2006 coup, Bainimarama held on thanks to a system that mixed regular democratic elections with periods of repression.
Fiji had a
He survived
dictatorship
2
in
elections in
2006?
2014 and 2018.
I didn't know that.
But in 2022, Fiji's economy is faltering. The pandemic battered tourism, and some sense
That's
a wind of
partially
change.
probably why they're not
Bainimarama lost his absolute majority, and a coalition
speaking
of
out
other
against
parties
the
took over
Grace
parliament.
Road niggas, because they're actually helping the economy.
Vali
And they
still
had good
senses the
food.
echo of these dark days of oppression, especially when he talks to people off camera. Much of it he puts down in his notes.
Jim and Lani often refer to the Bainimarama regime, 16 years of oppression. They tell the story of the relationship between Prime Minister Bainimarama and Grace Road. During his
Bainimarama.
tenure, the Fiji Development Bank invested a significant amount of money in the group. On the other hand, he used Grace Road for his own purposes. From a Fijian perspective, the story of Grace Road is bigger than the cult itself. It's politically charged.
The OCCRP investigated these troubling ties between Bainimarama and Grace Road. A former government spokesman told them the cult was treated like a protected species. Laws restricting free speech also kept criticism of the cult largely muted. OCCRP revealed that Fijian police had spoken with witnesses who described beatings and other abuses by Grace Road members, but without any serious consequences for them.
Fiji's not what I thought it was.
So I think the kind
I didn't know they were
of
moving like that over there.
strong-armed administration that we see in Grace Road would have resonated very much with Frank Bainimarama and Ayaz Sayed Kayum, the two main members of the Fijian government at the time.
It's Vali's 5th day in Fiji, and it starts with a surprise. We've actually received an answer from Grace Road, but not the one we expected.
Okay. Here's a serious update. Yesterday, Lani got a call from the Film Commission in Fiji.
Wait. Okay. Wait. Are you in the office? Okay, I'll come across to you now.
Okay, Lani just got a phone call from Film Fiji, who gave us the permit to film, that the lawyers of Grace Road called Film Fiji to revoke our permit. And right now, Lani's in the office.
So the lawyers have contacted them about the fact that we've been going to different Grace Road restaurants and shops and stuff. They're emailing them now about revoking the permit altogether, the filming permit altogether.
Losing the permit would mean that we'd have to stop filming. Lani explained to the commission that we didn't do anything illegal at Grace Road. But now she still has to deal with the lawyers.
So I'm going to start typing up emails now. Okay. Again.
Maybe they can actually get us in touch with Grace Road themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. Maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, let's hope this all comes to a, fruitful outcome for everybody.
She's scared, but she's a trooper. She's actually
Everyone starts to
you can tell she's a little worried.
Exciting.
The lawyers from Grace Road state that
our client is extremely concerned with the basis on which a permit was given to your production company. It is imperative that the permits given to your production company must be cancelled forthwith. However, we will leave that decision to Film Fiji. They also wrote given to your production. Our client is extremely concerned with the basis on which a permit was given to your production company. It is imperative that the permits given to your production company must be cancelled forthwith. However, we will leave that decision to Film Fiji. They also wrote that we need permission from Grace Road to film anything about them, and that they, quote, expressly declines your request to film or shoot any short film, documentary, or any other form of any motion picture on or about it. They're trying to shut us down. If that's not a red flag, I don't know what is.
That's a big red flag. They said y'all need to
anyway, we get to keep our filming permit, but from Grace Road's perspective, it probably made sense to try to stop us from filming. After all, it would be a shame if more people learned about the horrendous crimes they allegedly committed. It's the summer of 2018, 4 years after Grace Road's arrival in Fiji. Their many businesses are thriving. Bainimarama's regime is still in power. Shin is on a 15-hour trip back to South Korea. When she and other church leaders arrive at Incheon International Airport in Seoul, the group is suddenly surrounded by police officers. Shin Okjo and 3 of her companions are arrested on the spot.
By that time, there were fairly well-developed allegations of significant physical violence. The church goes through this process they call the threshing floor, and that means, they say that people's sins are expiated through beatings, effectively. It's really upsetting violence.
We've seen the footage of the threshing floor. We will not show it here, but it is truly gruesome.
That kind of activity had been going on for quite some time. Korean authorities were aware of it. They had credible allegations. They felt they had sufficient evidence.
And these violent practices are said to have made their way to Fiji.
It appears to be the method of maintaining discipline within the church membership itself. And that discipline is extremely strict by every account that we've come across.
That's what Marama told us as well. She worked for Grace Road's farms and in their True Mark supermarkets.
They get in head but tell each other or go to the hospital.
We were not able to independently verify Marama's statements. However, her account aligns with numerous other reports from former workers, including those of this young woman, whom Vali happened to meet by chance on the roadside.
If they did something wrong, they'll be getting I heard that they'll get high level from the leaders. And when the time ask them, they'll just say that I fell.
We were not able to independently verify her statements either, but she claims that she worked at Grace Farms for 2 months as a holiday job. Despite the harsh conditions for all employees, one thing stands out.
They got
Grace Road
slaves?
seems to operate like a two-tier society. On one side are the local Fijians, who've had some bad experiences, and on the other are the Koreans, who have suffered far worse.
Fijian workers, by all accounts, were treated well. But at the end of the day, they went home. The mostly Korean church members did not. They were kept in barracks. There have been a number of allegations.
They had slaves.
They extend to separation of family members forcefully, the unwilling
They had
detention
slaves. Oh
of
my
people,
God. This is the
taking their
Camp 14
passports
type
effectively
stuff,
and
bro.
refusing them the ability
What?
to travel, that is, to leave the church. There have been allegations
There it is.
of
Yep,
refusing
taking the
them
passports.
the ability.
That's exactly what they did in that's exactly what they did in Dubai.
Tension.
When they had the labor camps, they would be like, "Yo, we're gonna take y'all's passports." When they called people in, they were like, "Yeah, come here. We got some work for you." And as soon as they get there, they take their passports, and now they're property of the state.
Of people taking their passports effectively and refusing them the ability to travel, that is, to leave the
they're
church.
slaves
There
now.
have been allegations of being fed improperly, being housed improperly, being overworked, well beyond what normal labor practices would allow, physical punishments to top everything off.
Can we get these guys out of here? Oh my
Much
gosh.
of this was allegedly also experienced in
Bro.
2014. By then,
Nah, this is one of these. Every time I hear stuff about like organizations like this, I just think about early or like at any point really during in One Piece, where there's like all the Logia niggas that are like just harassing entire settlements and states and countries, just abusing people because nobody has hockey and nobody can deal with them. So like, that's just, man, this is just so annoying, bro. I really, honestly, this is one of those times where I wish I could just like pop up and just be like, "Hey, what's going on over here? Y'all moving crazy?" And then just like, you know, solve the problem with like a freaking go, and then just like run the ones with the leader and then solve the problem. I feel like stuff would be a lot easier like that. But unfortunately, it's a lot more complicated than that, because there's like different you know, hierarchical social structures and like power vacuums and political entrenchment in the surrounding economies and things like that. So unfortunately, it's a lot more complicated to take down organizations like this. It's sad, man. It's sad.
Siu and Lee. After undergoing cancer surgery, her mother joined Grace Road and wanted to travel to Fiji for recovery. Siyun interrupted her studies and accompanied her for 2 weeks. Shin's sermons were bizarre.
A lot of wailing, a lot of shouting. She would verbally abuse a lot of people.
We need to bring the button back, bro. Just have the button and be like, "Yo, if people start moving crazy, just take their power away." Just like, and like you're stripped of your rank, your money, your connections, everything. Your influence gone. Moving
All the
crazy.
names, awful names.
Moving
When she tried to
violation.
leave, she realized something was wrong.
Actually started packing the day before. And when I went to, pack my computer, my laptop, it was gone. I realized my passport was gone. I was panicking a lot. I was screaming for help.
Dressed only in pajamas and flip-flops, she made her escape. Although others tried to block her path, she managed to break free and ran straight towards a police car. They helped her obtain an emergency passport at the South Korean embassy.
Oh, that's
All the
clean.
while, Grace Road members pursued her, and even her own mother tried to convince her to stay.
What?
But
They
she left her mother
pursued her?
behind in Fiji and managed to return to South Korea.
She said, "I'm
Grace
getting
Road
out of
seems to
here."
rule over its members with an iron fist. The cult runs an enormous business empire and has excellent ties to the country's dictator. So they may have wondered, why not bring the promised land under its control entirely?
반드시 정계에 들어갈 겁니다. 정으로 돼 있어도 그들은 이게 안정하니까 안.
Whoa, that was a crazy statement. Did y'all see that? She said, "Surely someday we will enter politics." Even though Fijians are our servants according to our Bible. If that ain't some racist, oh my gosh, bro. If that ain't some racist freaking propaganda, like some supremacist Korean supremacy, what in the world are we doing, bro? Get them out of here.
있어도 그들은 이게 잘 이게 안 저거 하니까.
They are not very smart. Just disrespecting the country, bruh. Gomu gomu no. Grizzly Magnum. Bro, brains are not fast enough. This is disgusting behavior, bro. This is literally in 2019, bro. People talking like this in 2019, bro. 2019. What? We will conquer governor. Well, shut up. Shut up. Why don't you conquer this jail cell, bruh? Your racist ass.
While Shin settles into her prison cell, South Korean authorities are continuing their crackdown on Grace Road. Shortly after capturing Shin in Seoul, they plan to strike again. 17 officers are sent on a secret mission to Fiji. On the ground, they meet with the local police. And in the middle of the night, a joint operation begins.
They arrived at the main multi-acre farm, that's the headquarters of the church. Late at night, did a sort of a sweep to gather up people and evidence before anybody had a chance to react.
In the following days, 6 South Korean citizens get arrested, including Shin's son, Daniel Kim. The secret mission is looking like a huge success. But then...
Well, nobody really knows exactly what happened. What we do know is that the courts intervened quite quickly. Shortly after that intervention, the Fijian police were saying, okay, look, we're going to take over this investigation. And so the Korean police detachment, who thought that they were going to come back with, you know, a number of people in their custody, ended up going back empty-handed. An Interpol red notice was issued at around that time for Daniel Kim, and
fugitive wanted for persecution,
presumably for others.
But in Fiji, it seems like no one cares. Perhaps investigations continue behind the scenes, but for years, nothing comes of them. So Daniel Kim gets to carry on with business as usual.
And silenced it.
Grace Road launches new ventures and keeps on growing.
They expanded from 30-something businesses to 54 in the period following the raids. Grace Road became one of the largest private employers in Fiji at the time.
And they keep diversifying. From dental clinics to gas stations, the stations are reportedly run in partnership with ExxonMobil. They are still operating today. We asked ExxonMobil whether they were aware of the events surrounding Grace Road, and why, instead of ending the cooperation, they chose to expand it. They did not respond.
Yeah, of course they didn't.
In July 2019,
Bro, it's an oil company, bro. Did you really think that they would respond about ethics? They don't care. I'm fairly certain that Exxon does not care. Hold on, let me see. Exxon CEO. Who's the Exxon CEO? Darren Woods. Oh, that's the American guy. Oh, is it him? Yeah, I'm fairly certain he does not care. Fairly certain. Because if they cared about ethics, we wouldn't even have as much oil as we had in America here.
Jo was convicted in South Korea. She was sentenced to 6 years in prison for fraud, holding her followers captive in Fiji and subjecting them to violence.
Daniel Kim became the effective leader of the church.
I wish they did.
He's got, you know, the money
of
his contributors, of his church members. He's also got access to a great deal of leverage in terms of development loans and various other things.
But not everyone in Fiji stays silent about Grace Road. At the end of 2019, opposition leader Sitiveni Rabuka demands an immediate investigation.
Now that Korean courts have convicted the founder of Grace Road for offenses committed in Fiji, our authorities cannot turn a blind eye to the allegation of forced labor, torture, assault, and illegal detention.
Authorities,
they must act
pull up.
swiftly to protect the human rights of the members of Grace Road
Pull
and prosecute
up.
those who have broken our laws.
Pull up.
Despite all the allegations and calls for investigation, Bainimarama reportedly continues to let the cult operate undisturbed for years. But by 2022, his grip on power is slipping. After 16 years of oppressive rule, Bainimarama is finally voted out. Sitiveni Rabuka becomes prime minister. All signs point to trouble for Grace Road. 2023, September 7th, the newly elected Fijian government is cracking down on the cult. 6 members of the cult are declared prohibited immigrants after the South Korean government nullified their passports. 2 members get deported. 2 more are released after a court injunction. The last 2, including Daniel Kim, are said to be on the run. But then this appears on Facebook.
I made a Facebook post. Shut up.
Everyone we know could know about. Do we look like a cult? If the cult, why are so many of the customers supporting? So I want.
Bro, that's the point of a cult, you fool. Oh my gosh. What is this rhetoric, bro? He said, if we're a cult, why are so many people supporting us? That's the point of a cult, bruh.
Deliver this message to the people that this is not a legal thing. This is illegally, and we are not happy about it. How did
I bet not.
But it's no use. Daniel Kim is put on immigration custody. For years, Grace Road stayed silent in the face of criticism.
He doesn't even believe what he's saying.
But now they launch a massive solidarity campaign. The cult is facing
what
existential
he's
risks.
He's just talking.
Its leader was convicted in South Korea. Her son, the new head, is detained, and the new government has launched extensive investigations. For now, their business keeps running, from agriculture and construction to restaurants, supermarkets, and gas stations. The question is, how long will it last? A concern that, it seems, has begun to trouble the Fijian government as well. Grace Road claims in a statement that it creates jobs for rural development and employs over 800 local workers, making it one of the country's biggest employers.
Well, look, let's be realistic. Grace Road is a significant economic driver. Tourism has not rebounded to the levels that existed pre-COVID. Grace Road is an alternative employer to the tourism industry. And so if you pull the plug, summarily on 54 companies operating across swath of the country's main island, that could have some pretty serious repercussion.
So you don't have to pull the plug on it. You just need to find a way to restructure it, force them to restructure according to the laws. I would have to say, right? Either that or replace the leadership. But I don't know who you'd replace them with, and that's a tough one because you'd have to be how can certain people just jump into an organization and start running it? Nobody's gonna trust them or something like that, or either that or it's just gonna be somebody who's also indoctrinated and they're just gonna be it could even be worse. So that's a tough one, but I feel like the regulation part would probably work. Like how Australia was doing the ban on social media. They were just well, how about y'all do this or we're gonna find y'all out the ass. How about that? They could do that. They could go that route and just be like, hey, it's now a law that y'all can't operate this way. So y'all either you're gonna face crazy fines to the government, or y'all gotta change, or y'all gotta shut down.
Or to December 2024, 400 days after Kim's detention, half a year before Vali will travel to Fiji.
Yeah, they got too powerful.
Members and employees have gathered in
they
front
got
of the
too
appeals
powerful
court in the
before
capital
people figured out what they were doing.
This is the moment they have all been waiting for. Daniel Kim and another Grace Road official step out. He is free.
This was the normal operation of the courts. They have allowed him his liberty while this judicial review is in process.
The de facto leader of Grace Road is out on bail.
He's still out?
No one back in Fiji has been prosecuted for their alleged practices behind closed doors.
I know there are a great many people who feel that there should be prosecutions. That is not a view that's shared by the public prosecutor in Fiji at this time.
Even the U.S. government criticizes Fiji in its newly released report on human trafficking. The report notes that no one from Grace Road has ever been prosecuted or convicted.
Whoa.
A clear shift has taken place within the Fijian government from the unmistakable demands of the past to a far more cautious approach. The government publicly states that it's disappointed that Grace Road is now reconsidering new investments in Fiji. They stress that they have always treated Grace Road with friendliness, and they say they respect them for their new retail standards they brought to Fiji.
Currently, there is a great deal of concern about, what happens if you effectively kill this golden
Fiji was destabilized.
If you remove one of the
Fiji was
substantial
literally
private sector
destabilized
drivers in the
when
Fijian
they came
economy
in.
at this time.
That's is this a valid comparison? I think it is kind of. it's a valid comparison to like how the German people saw Hitler initially. They were like, yo, because Germany was in such a bad place, as far as like social stability and economically at that point, and Hitler came in and started suggesting like all these new ideas that actually like helped the country like run more efficiently and more prosperously. That's kind of how like a lot of German people saw Hitler before he started moving crazy. So like, and even some after he started moving crazy, if they didn't really know about it, right? So like they were looking at them like, oh, why are they coming in trying to take down the people that literally saved our country? That's like kind of how they saw it, and that's kind of similar to this, in the fact of Grace Road being like, yo, we really literally built y'all up after that, after all that death and destruction for 16 years. You guys were destabilized. You guys were in the dirt. Y'all were nothing without us. We came in from the ground up and built this, and now it's carrying the economy. So it's like, yeah, nobody really wants to remove them. Plus, the food is good. The food, man, if the food was trash, it'd probably be a different conversation. But the good food got him in a chokehold, low key.
On the ground, Volley wants to ask government representatives about these concerns, and we want to know why the investigations into Grace Road keep dragging on. According to the OCCRP, Fijian officers have spoken to key witnesses of beatings and other abuses more than 5 years ago. What's taking so long? Interviews had been arranged, but a series of unfortunate circumstances got in the way. For example, key members of the government were stuck on another island, 6 to 8 hours away.
Now, most of the government officials actually, like this week, they have a super intense week, right?
Luckily, Lonnie has already received commitments from individual ministers and is now trying to arrange new appointments. But
now, more than 2 weeks later, this is her message.
Flaking.
I spent Monday morning at Kamikamita and Naupoto's office trying to lock interview times. Both these ministers have been advised not to make any public comments regarding Grace Road, since both offices have active interests and files before them. Any public comments have a high chance of putting both them and their ministry in a precarious position.
We sent them written questions but never received a reply. We also reached out to the Grace Road group, but unsurprisingly, got no response either.
Yeah. Grace Road not talking
Nani
to
talked
nobody,
about
bro.
the colonial history of Fiji, how the UK thought they could conquer it but couldn't, and instead had to integrate. She has a similar hope with Grace Road, that outsiders coming to Fiji with bad intentions might somehow be changed for the better.
Right, you're saying, oh, well, that's okay. Over there, we're still going by their pizzas because their pizzas are good. You know, that kind of thinking. Oh, well, no, that's the chicken, that's not the church, that's not... No, it's all connected. Our comfort and our convenience is more important than our values and our ethics. And I think that's where we start to fail as people and as Christians.
He's speaking on it. He's like, yeah, the food is too good. He said the food is too good. I knew it, man. If that chicken was dry, they would not be having this conversation right now. Guaranteed.
Understand what is Grace Road really about. And to be honest, finding answers to these questions has been really, really tough. There's so much secrecy. People seem to be afraid of something whenever talking about Grace Road.
They said honesty, sincerity.
One of the things that we need to remember is that Fijians have been living under a more or less oppressive regime with significant curtailment of their human rights since 2006. Democratic government, as we understand it, is a fairly novel concept.
Our latest investigation story or piece is with our lawyers. We've had Grace Road lawyers send us a notice to holding back the story. But yes, we do have an investigation piece that we hope to run over a couple of weeks, an in-depth investigation where we have spoken to victims, we have spoken to people who worked once for Grace Road and who have left.
As of the release of this video, the Fiji Times have not published their investigation.
So while many of my questions are still unanswered, there's at least one thing I can say for sure, and that's the people. I mean, the people of Fiji, they will always stay in my heart. They're
the nicest, most generous, humorous people, always up for a smile, even though it's not super easy to live here. I mean, many Fijians struggle to make a living, to make ends meet, and it's also not a huge country. And that's exactly why outsiders coming in here as guests, as businesses, as churches, they must act with real care, with responsibility, transparency, and of course, I mean, Grace Road has brought a lot of good things.
Without a doubt, they have a business model that's unique. And without a doubt, they've actually stimulated economic development, economic growth in areas that didn't have this. They've employed people. You know, that's a reality. But there's also a lot of negatives.
When so much good is wrapped in so much secrecy, when there's a taboo to speak about it at all, that's really a red flag to me. And that tells me something has to be changed.
What better place than this
to
read you a little bit from Reverend Okchushin's brochure.
Like,
This brochure is written by Okchushin from prison and given out publicly in Grace Road shops. And I'll read some more of this to you. Threshing. An assault, moving to Fiji, a confinement. The threshing floor is the spiritual warfare for the salvation of souls. The Spirit of Truth, Reverend Okchushin, carried out the threshing floor to protect the children of God from the plagues.
To us, this does not sound like remorse. To us, this sounds like a justification for brutal violence. Meanwhile, Grace Road seems to be looking to expand their empire beyond Fiji.
The president of Nauru, which is a tiny island nation of about 20,000
God
people,
told her to beat
has
they ass.
extended an invitation to Daniel Kim, asking him to come and work his economic magic on his tiny island to see, you know, what he can do to help the economy of Nauru.
Nauru's climate is warm.
She said, God said, I spoke. She said she spoke to God. And he said, whoop their ass.
With no winter. Fertile soil is limited, though. But who's to say if any of this is really in preparation for some imaginary apocalypse? Or just about money and power?
Probably the latter. But I don't know, you know, she could actually believe that, you know, she could actually believe in what she's saying.
So this guy is rich.
That doesn't necessarily
like
mean that it's
$230 million.
Oops. Yeah, she could actually believe in what she's saying, but that doesn't actually make it any better. It doesn't actually make it any better. But yeah, that's gonna be the video, in my opinion anyways. That's gonna be the video. I hope y'all liked it. I hope y'all found this useful or entertaining. Yeah, fun times, fun stories and all that. But yeah, that's gonna be the video. Go ahead and like it if you liked it. Dislike it if you didn't, and subscribe if you want to see more, or unsubscribe if you're just tired of it, bro. You just had enough. But I'll catch y'all in the next one. See you later. Bye.